Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Professional. My name is Ryan Abremski. I am the Business Development Director for Easy Living. We're a home care and care management agency serving the Tampa Bay area for over 20 years. This week on my Ask a Professional, I have a very special guest, and I'm so honored to have her on our show today. This is Mary Daniel. Mary is a wife, business owner, and professional patient care advocate. I'll let Mary tell her story a little bit more, but one thing that she's done is basically has formed an incredible Facebook group called Caregivers for Compromise. It has almost 8,000 members on there, and they're really fighting for the advocacy of their loved ones in facilities. But I'll let Mary tell her story a little more, and then we'll get into more of that Facebook group. So Mary, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate the time. I know you're super busy and a celebrity now, so.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. It is really a crazy story. I mean, I have been the wife of Steve for 24 years. Steve was diagnosed 7 years ago at the age of 59 with early onset Alzheimer's. So I placed him in a memory care center a year ago, last July. He is incredibly social, and so we had him at home, and I had a caregiver with him at home, but he was really struggling here. He was literally locked in the house and was exit seeking. He was trying to leave constantly, and really just sitting and watching TV all day was just not in his best interest. He is social and loves being around other people. So we placed him in a memory care center, and he was thriving, loved being around everybody, actually had a seat at the front desk, greeted everyone that walked in the door, whether they were family members, the FedEx guy, and everybody knew Steve. So it was really working very well. I went to see him every single day, spent the evenings with him, got him ready for bed every day. And on March 11th, I got a phone call that said, "You can't come back." So I called and I said, whoa, is there anything I can do? Can I get a job? Can I volunteer? There's got to be something. And they kind of said, let's see how this works. Let's kind of take it easy. Hopefully this isn't going to go on very long. And as the days turned into weeks, turned into months, I started making a little bit of noise. I wanted to get the attention of the governor. And local story started picking that up. A local station started picking that story up. And the corporate office of Steve's facility heard about it as well. And they gave me a call right out of the blue and said, "We have a job if you'd like to take it." So I said, "Okay, what is it?" And they said, "It's a dishwasher." And I said, "Then dishwasher it is." So I started on July 3rd as the dishwasher, and I got to see him for the first time in 114 days.
Oh, man. Whatever it takes. And then that's, and I think that people don't realize how it's affecting these, our loved ones in these facilities to be isolated. That's one thing that we always talked about on the home care side, but we hear it so much now with the isolation portion of loved ones in a facility that, even though they're doing these window visits and the tele visits on the iPads, it's not the same as being, face to face with them, So that drove you to, I think, form the Facebook group Caregivers for Compromise. Tell us a little about that group.
It did. We started, when the story started getting press and actually went viral, we decided to form the Facebook group, because I found that there were people out there just like me who had no one to talk to and nowhere to go and no one to say, what can we do? Our singular voices, everybody was emailing the governor and calling the governor and tweeting about the governor, and nobody was getting any responses, including me. And so I started we all very frustrated with that. And this story, it really has gone viral. People have needed this feel-good story right now in the middle of this. And what it's done is really given me, and it is a feel-good story, and it is a love story, but what it's done really is open the door to this issue. And that's been the true blessing of it. So with the Facebook page, we've all come together. I mean, literally, there are hundreds joining every single day. The stories that we're seeing are absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah. I mean, people are posting every day that their loved ones are dying from isolation. And so, especially in the world of dementia care, can't explain to Steve what's going on. He doesn't know what's going on. The FaceTime and the window visits, we did 2 window visits. He cried the entire time, both times. he just doesn't understand it. And so I decided on Father's Day that was the last time I was going to do that just wasn't helping him, which is an incredible decision to have to make as a wife, to say, I'd rather he not see me than see me under these, these circumstances, because there's just no way, we don't even understand what's going on. It's very difficult to explain that to anyone who is in these facilities, and especially dementia patients.
Absolutely. And, I checked this morning, you guys are almost over 8,000 members of that Facebook group. And, personally, I've seen the stories in there, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. But now we have, that one page, that one avenue that everyone's coming together and making that voice being heard. So with that being said, that led to you getting, I think, a call from the governor directly, correct?
Correct. I met with them, with the governor personally a week ago, and with other actual officials, the Secretary of the Elder Affairs Department for the state, the Secretary of ACA for the state. We had a press conference last week, so we met for about 45 minutes prior to the press conference, and then got to speak to the press. He has formed a task force, the governor has, with those people that were there, and also other leaders in the elder care world, the Surgeon General, the director of the Florida Healthcare Association, to form this task force. I will tell you that I'm a little frustrated with us getting the ball rolling. I realize I'm sort of the newbie, and I wrote to everybody yesterday, but we haven't had our first meeting yet. And there is urgency here.
Absolutely.
And, every day that goes by, people are dying, and they're dying alone. And so we are trying very hard, and I'm pushing very hard. We need a meeting. We need to talk to each other, and we need to look at what our options are. We are recommending an essential caregiver designation. It's currently being done in 2 other states, where a caregiver who has established a pattern of caregiving prior to the lockdown gets that designation and gets to meet the same requirements that an employee does. My argument is that I can touch my husband as a dishwasher, but I'm not allowed to touch him as his wife. And I think that's a little silly. And I think, listen, we all know the rules were why they were done. The best of intentions. No one is arguing that. But we're 5 months in, and people are dying they're calling it failure to thrive. That's what you're seeing on the death certificates now, because they have been isolated, and they are absolutely withdrawing from the world, and they are dying much quicker than they normally would. But the most important part about that is they're dying alone, and that will leave a mark. And I believe the governor recognizes that, by the way, and he and I have talked about that. He realizes that that's the kind of mark on a child or a spouse that you can never repair. That's a hurt that can never be fixed. And we have to do better than that. We have an obligation to do better than that.
Absolutely. And I know, just from my personal contacts that are in the business too, they're just as frustrated inside the facilities too, because they hate seeing their residents suffer like that. And I think, they're obviously bound by higher powers to have to enforce those type of regulations. So
they're tired too. I mean, they're very fatigued. I mean, they're used to having people like me there every day. They never had to worry about Steve after dinner. I got him ready for bed. When I would leave in the evening, I would say to them, he's good. He's drifting off to sleep. They didn't have to do anything with him. So they could move on to someone who needed a higher level of care. Absolutely. And that was true for all of the caregivers that we had. We have a very close-knit group where he is. We all looked after each other's family, and now all of that's gone. And the turnover is extremely high in this industry anyway. Mm-hmm. So now you throw in the stress of being, in this environment all alone every single day, and they're losing people, every day in terms of the staff. So the burden on them is very, very high. And there's no question that they are with us on this. And what's happening is there is neglect taking place, and it's not intentional. I mean, they're trying as hard as they can in the majority of places, but things like hair and fingernails and things like that when I took Steve's shoes off the very first day, I couldn't even believe it. I mean, his toenails had not been clipped in 4 months. And this is a man who took care of himself, impeccably. He was a salesman. His appearance was everything in terms of the way he presented himself professionally. And to see him in that regard, of no fault of really the staff. I'm not blaming them in any way. That need doesn't get met because there are so many other needs that they have to do. This is not working. We have to do better than this. My mantra this entire time has been there has to be a better way. There just has
Absolutely. So what's next? What's your next step at this point in time?
I need to meet with these people, number one, and I'm pushing very hard for that to happen in the next day or two. And we're going to push this essential caregiver designation. We're also going to push, we're moving on to the federal government. We need help with rapid testing. That's our answer. I mean, that's what's going to get us in. I personally am able to I get a test every 2 weeks through the facility, but my brother-in-law's a physician. I see Steve on Thursdays and Fridays. I dishwash on Thursdays and Fridays. And so before I head over there, I run by my brother-in-law's office. I get a rapid test. 15 minutes later, I get the result, and I literally drive from there to the facility knowing when I walk in the door that I'm negative. And there's great peace of mind that comes with that. That's Absolutely. What we're looking for. Obviously, that's going to be the answer to get us all in, and we need that sooner rather than later, and that's got to come from the federal government. So that's we're sort of doing both at the same time. Let's look and see what's happening in Florida. But all these other states, we have Facebook pages for every single state. All 50 states have their own Florida Caregivers for Compromise pages where they're organizing themselves, since every state is different. And we need the federal government to come and help us get those tests quicker so that we can get back to our families.
Absolutely. And that's a struggle we're having on our home care side too, because, we're not like all of our caregivers, or, over 200 caregivers are not in one building like the rest of the facilities are. Our caregivers are across 3 different counties, and, the testing component, we need that rapid test. We can't have them take a test, have 5 to 7 days go by before you get a result, and then it's only good for 14 days from the date of the test. So now you only have them that can technically work for 5 days. So the rapid testing, I 100% agree on that. That needs to improve, especially on the healthcare side and the senior living side. Absolutely.
That's our answer. I mean, we're not waiting. I can promise you, we're not waiting for a vaccine. That's not the answer. That's too long. That's too far away. The testing, the rapid testing is really, I think months away. 30, 60, 90 days for it to really to get out there. And I think the federal government can help us do that in a much faster way than the state governments can. I think it has to be a coordinated effort, just like it was on respirators. We need to really concentrate on getting those out there, because that is the ticket. In the meantime, if we can do this designation where we're very safe, we want to be safe. Nobody wants to throw the doors open. We want this to be safe so that we're being tested just like the staff. We're wearing PPE, we'll wear masks. But I'm not a big fan of we'll take you outside, but you're not allowed to touch them. Do not touch them. If we're following the guidelines, if we're following PPE, there is no reason in the world. And Governor DeSantis said this at the press conference. If they're in PPE, and he asked it, very innocently, why can't they hug? He said, I'm not talking about 30 minutes of, holding onto each other. I'm talking about, though, a real hug to do in PPE, in mask, after we've been tested, after we've been screened. There's no reason in the world we can't do that. Absolutely. And it's time. 5 months is long enough for these. The first thing Steve did is put his arms out to me. It's a natural instinct to just want to hug. He doesn't know that I'm a dishwasher. He doesn't know our story has gone viral. He doesn't have the capacity to understand any of that, but he knows to put his arms out when he sees me because he wants a hug. And Absolutely. I'm able to provide that to him now. He knows me. He knows our love. But you know what? That's going away too. If this goes on much longer, that was my biggest fear, that when I got to him, he would not remember me.
Oh, yeah.
And that will happen to a lot of people. Right? So we've got to do this now.
Absolutely. Well, we're so excited to share your story on our side of the state over here and get your story out. And I know we have a lot of people, including some of our own clients, that really are fighting for the same thing and want the same thing, to be able to go and see their loved ones. So, Mary, I really thank you for your time. We really appreciate your story, and we look forward to sharing it and helping with the fight there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mary. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone else, for joining. If you have any questions or comments for Mary, post them down below, or you can always send us a message on Facebook, and we'll make sure to get them in touch. And we'll also list the Caregivers for Compromise Facebook page here, so you can join too if you needed to. So again, thank you, Mary, and thank you, everyone else, for joining.
Thank you.